Hi, I'm Michael Hill with Canine Chronicle TV, featuring Next Gen, which is focusing on the younger members of the sport of purebred dogs. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Stuart McGraw and Justine Spiers of Just Start Kennels, and we're going to be discussing how they got started in the sport and what they are doing to continue building up and encouraging the next generation of dog fanciers. Stuart and Justine, thank you for joining us. Can you start with telling us how you both got started in showing dogs?
Yeah. I got started. I grew up with a golden retriever and an Afghan that my mom actually bought from a pet shop, and they both lived to be quite old. And then when they both passed away, my mom and dad decided to buy a show dog. They had a friend from a car club that had a Borzoi, and so they ended up buying their first show dog when I was 10, I want to say. And then they bought another one, and I ended up I started showing junior showmanship, and a breeder gave me a dog, and it just kind of went from there. And then Phil and Taffy ended up hiring me, and I worked for them for a really long time, and kind of the rest is history.
I love that. What about you, Justine? How did you get started?
So I grew up kind of on a horse ranch. My mom trained horses. We did a lot of 4-H. And with the ranch dogs, I won the 4-H obedience champion a few years. So we decided to get a real show dog. And we went to the newspaper and got our Australian Shepherd. And I did put 2 points on him over the course of like 3 years. But then I got another one from a much more reputable breeder. And but at the same time, I met a Borzoi breeder that was local and started working with those dogs. And I just fell in love with that breed. So my mom kind of inherited the Aussies, and I went with the Borzoi. And then
very different.
Yeah, and I actually talked to Stuart's mom about using one of her dogs for juniors back when. And
so is that how you guys met?
Yeah, basically.
Really.
And so I moved in with his parents for a summer.
I worked for Eddie and Leslie Boys at the time.
Right. And I started doing all the dog things with his mom, and I aged out of juniors and everything. And then he moved back in, and that's how that started. Yeah, and I work for Bruce and Tara and Larry and Lori, just weekend help though, never live in.
Got it. When you guys were both working for those respective handlers, were you doing that thinking this is what I want to do? I know for sure I want to be a handler, breeder full time, or was it something that was just more enjoyable at the time?
I knew I wanted to be a dog handler from the moment I started working for Bill and Taffy, honestly. I enjoyed the lifestyle and, just the camaraderie in the sport and the competition, from a really young age. So I was a single track minded kid in that regard.
I love that. What about you, Justine?
I never wanted to do that. I wanted to breed my little dogs and show my little dogs. And it's a hard sell for me. It took a while. I wanted to learn how to be good at it and everything, and that's why I wanted to work. And I enjoyed the competition. Very competitive person, very scary. It's awful. And but then I finally got convinced that it was okay as long as I could also breed my little dogs. So.
And that probably works to your guys' advantage as a team, I'm sure, right? Like having those different priorities and perspectives. Because you guys are actively breeding yourselves, right?
Right.
Yes. Yeah. We're both breeders at heart also. I think that plays a big role in this for us at least.
Tell us about your breeds. What makes you love those breeds, and what are your priorities that you're focusing on in your breeding programs right now?
Oh gosh. Okay. So with the Borzoi, they're actually pretty similar when they're your pets. They're pretty fun. They like to lounge around and not do a whole lot when they're in the house. They like casually look at you when you walk in the door, like, "Oh, hey, you live here too." And
welcome to my home.
Yeah, exactly. TV's over there.
And TV's over there. The car keys and the cash is over there. Is more like it.
Yeah. That's they're no guard dog. And the English Setters really melded a little bit more energy, I would say, than the Borzoi, but they've really melded right into that. There's one sleeping on the couch, like literally. Right? There she is.
Oh, that was my first dog growing up, actually, an English Setter.
An English Setter?
Yeah, I love the breed.
Yeah.
How did you guys get started with that? We know how the Borzoi came, but how did the English Setter come into play?
I got to love the breed when I worked for Bill and Taffy because that's her original breed, and her sister Honey still breeds them, not all that often, but she, up until a few years ago, was still breeding them. And so I loved them from day one. I brought my junior's dog, which was a Borzoi at the time, up to Bill and Taffy's over the summers, and then when I worked full-time, she lived up there with us. And she ran with Taffy's standard poodle that was her house pet, and then an English setter at the time as well. And so I grew to love the breed from a very young age.
Got it.
Another young person that is about
That I showed in juniors with, in fact.
Yes,
Her name is Rachel Barnes.
Yeah, he's 33 and I'm 28, I think.
Mhm.
And so she bred this dog that this wonderful woman had, and then we started showing him, and then it just kind of exploded from there.
You didn't have a choice.
No, but it's okay.
We love it.
How has the pandemic played into your breeding program? Have you been doing more litters this year with things slowed down, or?
Yeah, we tried one at the beginning. It didn't take, of course.
We actually haven't had a litter this year.
Yeah, we haven't had a litter in 2 years for the Borzoi, and I was, a year and a half on the English setters. We tried one, and we wanted to try another one, but of course, when those ones came in season, the dog show tour had started up again, so
Right.
that had
2020.
yeah, exactly.
You can't win. Speaking of dog shows, let's talk about some of your most memorable experiences at a dog show. It can be like a win, or it can just be like a special dog that you showed, whatever comes to mind.
Oh, there's so many.
Yeah. No, my most memorable was winning the breed of the garden with the Borzoi dog. And the reason it was the most memorable is not because I won, it was because I was supposed to show the other one, and he was supposed to show that one. And
the one that's in the picture that's right behind us there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That one there was the one she was supposed to show, and she's like my pride and joy.
Yeah. And
I switched on her last minute.
He was supposed to do the new dog, and I don't handle last minute change well, so I went into that ring. I was going to kill him for change. And then I won, and he thought he was forgiven just because I won, but he wasn't. And like making the cut in a group with the garden, it's incredible. Like the cheering and like it's amazing. And
Absolutely.
We've bred an all breed best in show dog, 2 dual champions, multiple best in field winners. Like they're pretty versatile. So that's all been really cool.
We've been really, really lucky with the dogs that we've been allowed to show. Honestly, I mean. The Carrie that we're showing right now, he won the group at Hapro and was second the other day at Devon. I mean, this year we had the most incredible Palm Springs that we could have ever had.
Yeah, that was special.
The English setter bitch that we bred out of this litter, she won all the sweepstakes there, went winners, bitch, and best to winners the 3 days that we showed her. She won the sweepstakes group. Then we won the breed with another English setter that we were showing the one day. And then he went on to win that group that day. Our Irish setter went second that day. And then the following day, that Irish setter went on. We ended up winning the group with that dog and then went reserve best in show. All 2 days later. It was amazing. Like unreal.
And then dog shows stopped.
I know. They were like, that's it. That's all you get.
Probably the one that gets my heart the most, I would say, as far as wins go, was the bitch that's in that picture, Vintage. I won the national with her from the veterans class, and she was, how old was she? 8.5 at that time.
Yeah, something like that.
And that was probably the most heartfelt one. I was sobbing my eyes out even after she won the veterans class.
Oh,
so,
I love that. The special dog.
Right now.
Yeah, she's very special.
She's pretty special, all right.
The queen. I love that one. I think that's so great to show how like your dogs are living normal lives as house dogs, and enjoying the couch and the bed, and they just go to work every once in a while.
Exactly.
Right.
As they should.
Yeah.
Right. That's amazing. Another question for you guys. I'm sure obviously Bruce and Tara and Bill and Taffy, the people that you lived with and worked with, are key mentors. Is there anybody else in particular that kind of took an interest in you or guided you as you got started, either as breeders or handlers?
Yeah, so the big one, so his mom had a different kind of Borzoi than the kind of Borzoi that we have now, like bloodline. And I can be a little bit of a nerd. So I just researched everything I could find about Borzoi, all the old magazines and the yearbooks and anything I could find. Internet, I had binders full of printouts, pedigrees and pictures. And Majanker Borzoi was the bloodline that it was just very appealing. And Karen Stout Cardabona is still breeding today, 55 years into it. And I asked her, and I was very shy at the time, so it's amazing that I found the ability to do this, if I could come stay at her house for a month to learn from her. And she said yes. So I went back there and I stayed at Majanker, which is in, I think, northwest New Jersey. Sits up above this beautiful lake. It's incredible. It's when you wind up the driveway, it's like you're entering the Enchanted Forest, but instead of unicorns, there's borzoi. It's amazing.
So you died and went to heaven.
I did, yeah. And I went a little bit crazy after. And at the end of that month, she offered me one of the bitches that she had kept for herself to hopefully be a foundation bitch. She was 3 years old. And then it kind of snowballed from there with her, and we were going back. Stuart got on board with that, and then
I bought a bitch from her as well.
Yeah,
who ended up becoming really our foundation bitch at that time. But
she's our mentor for sure.
Absolutely.
And she this year she won the Pro Plan Breeder of the Year thing. So she's just
wow.
Yeah,
and she's been AKC Breeder of the Year as well.
Yeah, back in 05. So she's bred like 400 champions, and I mean, incredible. Yeah.
So she's a master breeder, and she's also been impactful in helping you guys.
Yes, she's a teacher, and that's something hard to find, a teacher.
She's really been instrumental in establishing a ton of borzoi blood, like really prominent bloodlines in borzoi, honestly.
I think that's so important because it's a shame to do all that work, with your body of knowledge, and then to have it just end when you end. So it's I think it just shows her ability to be able to start up other people as well and continue that success into future generations. Is there anything that you guys have learned from your own personal experience as far as like what you guys can be mindful of doing, or other people in your similar situation can do to help encourage and empower a next generation of younger dog people?
Being nice. I mean, honestly, just being nice to everyone.
Sounds simple, but it's very important.
It is. There's no reason to be nasty to anybody, because, I mean, she was that person at one point in time that would have been on the receiving end. I was that person at a young age, too. I mean, and the people that were nice to us at that age are still friends of ours today. And, I mean, those kind of things will always stick with you.
No. And another one is let them show your good dog. Don't just give them the class filler or the this or the that. We've had, I think, 3 different junior handlers that we've helped now. That the one, she started showing a dog of ours that was the top hound in Canada. She wanted a borzoi to show in juniors, and she put all the work in. It wasn't like we just handed her the dog and off they went.
Yeah.
And we've done that with a few. The latest is a 15-year-old young man, and we had a class bitch borzoi who's lovely that I wanted to show, but he was there and he wanted to show too. And all right, fine, you do it. And he put the major on her and he did everything, because people like to win. They like to succeed. So you don't just be like, oh, yeah, you can help, but only with the one that's not going to win.
Right.
And like as a breeder, sell your best to young, new people. You can always breed another
Within
one.
reason.
Yeah, within reason, right.
Yeah.
You don't sell them the bottom of the heap. You sell them up at the top of the heap, because that's going to be their start. You don't want to,
Why give them a test that's impossible to pass?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a very good way of putting it.
Yeah.
No, I love that. And Stuart, in particular, I know there's a picture floating around somewhere on Facebook with, I believe, a Welsh Springer Spaniel, that you're in the ring with a dog and there's a young, maybe 6-year-old behind you, and you help set them up. And I think that's just a great example of, like, that child is probably always going to remember that experience, because, it could have been an embarrassing and stressful experience, but instead he, had a competitor helping him to succeed as well at a young age. And I think that just carries so much into, like you said, just being nice to people. Sounds so basic, but when we are busy and frustrated and stressed and traveling and tired, sometimes we can forget to do that.
Right.
Absolutely.
Practice what we preach. Yeah.
Absolutely. Do you think that nowadays the sport is advantageous to involving new people versus when you guys got started?
I personally don't see it one way or the other, honestly. I mean, I think dog shows have, even in my lifetime, have gone through kind of a wave, if you will. There'll be high points and there'll be low points, but I mean, I can tell you right now the competition's awful fierce, because no one has anywhere else to run to. Everybody's at the same dog shows. So,
yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying that I like having to travel as much as we're having to right now, but I mean, everyone is in the same place. So there's really good dogs at every dog show, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I think it's a good thing for new people to experience, real, true competition. I mean, that's what got me going.
See quality dogs too.
Right. And be able to have the people around to talk to. If you see a class that has an open class that has 5 beautiful animals in it, well, then in theory, you could go talk to any one of those 5 breeders that bred those animals and be in good shape.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think
if you're doing all the work to be there already, especially, like if you're bringing your one, at-home dog versus being a professional handler, even if you don't win, at least you're having that access to that education.
Exactly. And access to guidance, if anything else.
100%. What would you say, of all the dogs you've shown, what's your favorite personal dog that you guys have each shown?
Mine, that goes without saying. It's that Borzoi in the picture behind me, vintage, by far and above. Yeah.
What about you, Justine?
For me, it's not one that I usually show, thank God, but it's Flame, the English setter that's on the couch.
I love that.
We leased her for that litter of English setter puppies. She belongs to Adam and Katie Bernard, and they let us lease her, and then she was a horrible kennel dog, so I let her move in the house, and she never left. They very graciously allowed her to stay.
Yeah.
And I can't believe my favorite dog is not a Borzoi, so don't tell me.
Off the record.
More setters in the house than Borzoi right now.
Things come and go, right? No, I love that. I love that. Well, and I think you guys really bring a great down-to-earth perspective about, the key point here is not only being nice to the other people and other competitors, but also just enjoying and loving your dogs. And I think that ultimately keeps this sport alive and that's what I think is the key to keeping it accessible to other people, because if you don't love dogs, you're not going to go to a dog show in the first place. And if you go to a dog show and you see dogs that aren't loved, why would you stay?
Right. Yeah, like
absolutely.
when a spectator's going down the road or whatever in front of your setup and they see all these dogs on tables, you shouldn't be they are works of art in a way, but we don't need to tell the public, like, oh, you can't touch that. No. And so, like, I don't know, somebody asked me to pet the dog, it's usually a yes. If you have a standard poodle or something, like, I get it. But, there's always a place they can touch that's fine.
Right. I can't tell you how many times Colt, the English setter that we showed a few years ago, he absolutely loves kids. And I can't tell you how many people would come in a setup with kids. All right, come on, Colt, get off the table, go say hi to them. And, you can tell on these little kids' faces when they get a big kiss from a setter, they just get this look on their face that they'll remember. And it makes such a difference, I think, in the long run.
Right. And that can make the difference in planting the seed of someone wanting to make their life about this versus somebody going and saying, well, that's boring. I can't touch that. I can't.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't even touch it.
Yeah, otherwise it would be just like going to the zoo. You can't touch all those animals that are so beautiful behind the the cages. Right.
That's why showing dogs is better, because they can sleep in your bed too.
Exactly.
Well, I think that is a great place for us to wrap up. Thank you guys so much for sharing your insight and your experience. And I think, I really just love the takeaway that you guys have of just being nice, good people to other people around you and to the dogs that you're with as well.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Wonderful. Have a great day, guys. Appreciate it.
You too, Michael.
Thanks,
Take
Michael.
care.
All right, bye.